Well, welcome again. This is episode 4. People are enjoying what I'm doing, which is great, and hopefully making a few improvements along the way. So today, we're going to be talking about some mind-boggling concepts and how we can change our perception of reality now by looking at what we are going to be like sometime down the track. And I'm going to be putting up a Venn diagram, a diagram that you can digest during this. So I'll put that up periodically so you don't have to stare at my ugly noggin all the time, and it'll give you time to digest that. And I'll be flicking on and off of that. So if you miss it the first time, you can take a screenshot for the future. But I will be up a fair bit during the video, so don't feel like you're going to miss it. But in the last, it's been amazing. The last video that Jason made on was absolutely mind-blowing to me, and hopefully I can relay some of the thoughts that were going through my mind. Jason Breshear's just made my head spin, and on how real we can make this reality loop between now and changing our perception now based on what's going to happen in the future. And he would definitely not be watching any of my material, because he's just the guru of gurus who we've all grown from, who I can't praise enough. But Dale Holmes, at the same time, he made a video a couple of days after mine, and I know that I sent him a couple of my videos that he said he was going to have a look at, and he actually used a couple of words. Now, I'm not saying he looked at those, but I think it's about when we were discussing about how, as a child, I believe that I've done this before, and many of us have had this thought, we've been here before, we've done this before, and he used those exact words. And whether these guys that are amazingly in tune, they're just, that we're having synchronicities, just shows to me that I'm on the right track, that we're on the right track with this, and it humbles me to think that we do have these synchronicities. So I'm going to flash up this Venn diagram now, and in the last video, I'll just come back for a second. Jason actually went in and started talking about the chemistry and physics, and shining an electron microscope on a sample and showing that there's only light between things, which is what I was talking about with the orbital overlay. And it's what is happening is there is a merging between our generative field, where we build and construct within the construct, which is the material world, and how we view that world. And overlapping with that is our informed field, and that's the spiritual, the immortal. And in between is us, and how we interact with our material world, and we use the spirit that's within our avatars. The avatar and body we have is just flesh. Within that is the light and the limitless power, if we can tap into it, and immortal soul within us. We are just here to be able to interact with the generative field, and hopefully we can gradually move the circle over to be able to incorporate more of the limitless, the spirit. Now, we have to remember that within the generative field, that we can change things within this holosphere. We've talked about that with projecting out things that you want to happen in your life, move your avatar towards them, and they will change. And it's worked for me. I've shown that it works. And I gave you the example of wanting a bus sometime in the future and projecting that out as I was just going to sleep, and then being in that street the very next day, and a man selling 5 of them. And these things happen all the time. And within our informed field are all our experiences, and our past lives, and all the knowledge that our other avatars have gained. And that's what this channel was designed for, to tap into that resource, that power that our past avatars have learnt, and showing that we don't need fear in that process. Because to be here, it means that in the future, in that timeline outside of the construct, where there is no time, it is just an infinite plane, we have succeeded in what we're doing. And so we need to be fearless along the way. Jason went on to say that if this is our perceived reality, it's based on what we've built up that to be through all that's happened to us in the past. But we can borrow from our future perception and the eternal, where rules do not apply. And he said that we don't act holy because we want to be members of the elect. We are holy. We are this chosen people to wake up now because we are a member of the elect, which means sometime in the future we have proved ourselves worthy to the spirit, to the oversoul that has allowed us to wake up today. It means that our actions in the future have seen that we are now given this beautiful concept of waking up to and discovering what our true reality is. So it doesn't mean that we did something to be redeemed. It's because of something outside has chosen us, and we need to respect that. And that means that we can do the right things from this point on. We don't need to wait till that future event happens, that the oversoul deemed us worthy of this knowledge and for us to wake up. We can actually start now. Look at how our limitless possibilities in the future outside of the construct and start adopting them now. Now, he talked about Jesus and he said Jesus didn't care about what we had done in the past. It's what we did from that point on. And the line was, go and sin no more. That means that we have the opportunity to go now, be the noble, immortal beings that we are, and proceed. He used a quote by Paul Arden, and he was talking about the rules. And it said, if you can't solve a problem in this realm, in this material generative field here, it's because you're playing by their rules. We don't need to play by their rules. They've told us what the rules are. These are physical, material rules. Our true nature is that in the future, we're not going to violate any spiritual rules. That's why we're chosen as the elect few to know and understand this knowledge now. So why then rely on what is now when we can create our own future from this point on? And all that's limiting us is imagination. We define ourselves by our current state of affairs, what job we're in, how much money we've got, how we view nature, and this is the building block for what we are going to do each day and in the future. But the rules they tell us of the future are unknown, that everything's unknown to us and it's all a fearful battleground, but it's not. The rules tell us that future is inaccessible, but the spirit tells us differently. That the oversoul has chosen us tells us that sometime in the future we've done the right thing. So, how do we change our view of reality? We can borrow from a future perception of how we're going to see reality. Let's make our own rules. There's nothing against envisioning a different reality we are in. That's not breaking any rules. We can imagine and project out that we are able to tap into the source in the ether, the other side of the construct, in the powerful, infinitely powerful ether that's outside of the construct, the timeless, where there is no time. We can imagine that we are wealthier. We can imagine that we have superior knowledge and ability to take in knowledge and withhold it, to be able to retain and find memories that we didn't think was possible. Like we are given the opportunity to be able to understand our capabilities. Previously, like based on knowledge that is assumed when viewing a lot of Jason's work, and the point that we are now is that everything we want to experience already exists. What you have to do is just close the distance between the present self and how we perceive ourselves to the version that you want to enjoy and experience later. Because it's thought and belief that have kept this thing from us this far. Even we can reverse this. Like breaking pattern is what the soul can do to get the construct's attention. So if this is true, and the past does not restrict the soul from acting in the present, we must be equally true that the soul acting in the present can reap the benefits from its future actions. The limitations that we have are self-imposed. Remember, if we believe that we're going to try and resist something or takes note of something that's fictitious and not important, that will become part of our lives. We need to stop resistance and allow what we truly want to happen in the future. It really is time that we separate ourselves from the collective. We need to join the source. The source is timeless. We want to construct and start making our reality from this point, and this is where it truly starts getting amazing. If we know we have limitless power in the future and we are able to harness that, then we can step into that future now securely, knowing that if the future is ever changing, then we can make our present ever change, and that means that we will continually change our perception of the future. So it's like a continuous feedback to unlimitless power. If we continually project out how we think we want to be in the future outside of the construct, where we can build anything by thought that pleases our mind, that truly gets our soul in touch with the oversoul and provide true happiness, and then with that in turn causes us to have a different view of the perception of a reality now, then the future is ever changing, and it is a continual feedback loop to immense power. So we want to start making our reality now. Interact with our generative field, project out what we want, move our avatar in that direction, and let the oversoul take control and provide those steps in that direction. If we want, say you wanted to go overseas on an overseas trip, we don't need to supply all the stepping stones to get that trip to go overseas. All we need to do is project out that and imagine our life in the future, getting on the plane, having the money to do that, and envision us enjoying the sights of Rome, or taking a gondola through Venice, or walking through the jungle for spiritual enlightenment through Peru, and let the oversoul do the rest. We are the architects. The construct is, and the oversoul is the one that will build that for us. We lie outside of time. The true inner self within us, inside of our avatar, within that informed field, is us. That is a timeless identity. We just need to remove the boundaries from getting there. Now, our senses forces us to imagine that we are here through past memory. This is where imagination comes in and becomes a bit of a paradox, because when we even imagine the past, it dictates what we are now. We need to imagine a future without restrictions and allow that perception of how we're going to be change our perception of how we see things now. this reality is just a perception based on the past, then why wouldn't we want to tap into what we can do in the future and start using it? To be aware that we're outside of, and we are in this eternal, not bound by past, present, and future, and connected to source, where it's timeless. We can use versions of ourselves that don't even exist. We may not have the ability to recall vast amounts of information. We may not have the ability to play the piano as well as we want. But if we use the energy of the future, then if we can see ourselves playing the piano well, imagine ourselves actually performing the music that we thought was impossible, move towards that, we will drag energy from our future, from the timeless, immortal realm outside of the construct, and be able to do that. Now, I did a bit of looking at people who have actually tried tapping into this, and it works. It's worked for me. It's working for it. So many incidences and synchronicities and things that have come into my life because of what I've projected out and wanted, and they seem to appear. Now, Jason has mastered this ability. Jason Breshear has I can't put him on a pedestal enough, and I thank him to be even able to talk and try and relay some of the thoughts that he has. That is another aim of this channel. Besides finding out our where we've come from, what our past avatars have known, and the whole lot, it's to be able to discuss other people's things in a different frame of light, adding new things along the way, and so developing a deeper understanding. If what the crux of all this is that we know by being chosen as one of the elect, and we are, that we're even here discussing this and thinking about this, we have been chosen to be awake. That someone outside has chosen us, the Spirit has chosen us. We don't act holy because we want to be a member of the elect. We are holy because we are a member of the elect. We need to go on and know that the future is put aside. It's already predetermined. We have all we need in the future, and it's time to grab it now and to grasp it now. So, and if the future is already safe and secure and it's already happened, that means that we are safe to go on and proceed with those steps in our life to achieve this without fear. We can go now. We are one of the redeemed and ready to awake and ready to make our exodus when the next reset comes. When Phoenix comes in 2040, we will be impervious to the Phoenix because it's selective. This reset anomaly that appears in our sky, it drains, and it's very selective. It gets the people who haven't been chosen as one of the elect to understand this. And who knows? Does the Phoenix know what happens in the future? Because it resides in the realm of timelessness outside of our construct and leaves those people, or does it actually be selective and actually nail the people who are here now who have yet to go forth and sin no more? Very interesting times. Now, we can retrieve more energy than we possess. Our avatars are mere shells, as we know, but within us is limitless power. Through imagination, we need to imagine situations where we're vibrating higher than this physical world and the matter within the construct, at where our minds exist beyond the construct, beyond the rules. And with this comes great responsibility, because if we're going to go forth and sin no more, and we know that we're going to have this unlimited power in the future, then we need to show our empathy. We need to show imagination and create those scenarios. And we need to trust our intuition that we're going in the right direction and not being suckered in with false paradigms. So what I want to do now is talk about how we can bring this perception and change our perception here within the construct, so that we can change the material. The Just looking at the Venn diagram one more time before we move on. We see inside the generative field, in the physical world, in the material world, we are limited by that material. It's like our video game. And the movie that we are writing, the one that we are creating, we are borrowing the perceptions of ourselves based on our past and how they've led up to this point. But we've now talked about being able to use the perceptions of how we want to be in the future to shape that. We have to constantly reinforce that we're in a simulation, and that the avatar is just within us, is the eternal light, and the avatar allows us to interact with that generative field, our building field. The informed field, the light within us, exists outside of the construct. Can you see? It is a power source from source to us. It is an external, timeless, spiritual, pure interaction that we have to be able to learn how to develop. And it's within us. So, what I want you to do now is just see how this works and see how your reality tunnel can change. See how you feel when you do this simple little experiment that we're going to do now. I want you to imagine a scene, and I want you to imagine that in the future you are surrounded by everything that you want to be surrounded by. A future where you have the assets that you want, you have the wealth you want, you're in the setting that you want, you're surrounded by healthy family members, you're healthy within, you are happy, content. And now the things that you've chosen to interact with, the things that are around you, I want you actually to feel, to smell. Imagine the things that you're touching, and feel how they would feel, and be in that moment, whatever that may be. Imagine all the details. Be part of that scene. What you are feeling, what you've just felt, is a shift in your perception. Within your reality tunnel, you have felt yourself take one step closer to being that immortal, powerful being that we all can be. Now, I'm no guru here. I'm just learning just like you. I am not here to say that I am the master of this. I am far from it. I have been very open with telling you that I am relying on the patience and the knowledge and the understanding of people who are way above what I'm able to do. But I can see it working, I can feel it working, and I just had and something, whether it was the spirit or whether it was synchronicity or whatever it was, something powerful was telling me that I had to do what I'm doing now. Now, the telecasts are getting a bit more professional, they're getting a bit better, but something is telling me that I've got to go on this journey with other people. It might be 1, it might be 10, it might be 1,000 by the time, who knows? But I'm going to keep doing this anyway. Now, the thought that you felt that you were living in it feels good, huh? You felt that shift. You felt when your perception changed. And I know when I started doing that, it was almost surreal how beautiful it felt to just have that shift. I hope that you experience that too. But what we have to do is gradually change our perception of the present by relying on what we want to be in the future, as we've discussed, and move on step by step. It doesn't need to be a huge block, and if each little step feels as good as this, well, I'm all up for the journey. So what I've been doing at night is, again, relying on very, very esteemed people and seeing what works for them. And what I've been doing at night is to reinforce is that as you're in bed and you're lying in bed, which is when you start writing the next day in your book, the next part of the movie is you're writing at night as you're going to sleep. Because as you flick into sleep, that's when the spirit becomes free. And so we need to, as we're going to sleep each night, we are going to reinforce in our minds, we are in a simulation. We can change our worlds because it is a simulation. There are no rules. There are no rules that we've been told about, that we've been dungeon programmed into following a pattern, to follow regularity. As soon as we start breaking that and pattern breaking, the construct takes notice. And we need to be writing each day's journey, building on the pages of the last, so that we can get to a point and see clearly, right, I'm going to read the end of my book and actually make it the beginning. And this is the feedback loop that I'm trying to express. And so what I've been practicing when I go to bed is I think in my mind, I am in a simulation. I am in a simulation. And as you go to bed, like, you can put on a meditation music, or if you don't feel like that going in the background, just think. And try to remember the last thing you thought about as you slept, because that's the thought that is going to most form your next page of the book that you're going to live the next day. So imagine the scene. Imagine the scene that you'd created when I asked you to create the perfect scene where you were the happiest, what you want in the future. And imagine that as you're going to bed. Don't worry about how it's going to eventuate. If the constructs, it will. Just trust the thought. But trust it. Have faith that we've been here before. Trust that in the future we are immortal souls in a timeless, powerful, limitless space. And we have been deemed worthy by the Spirit and the Oversoul. And move your avatar in the direction that next day, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And just watch how the world grows around you. I hope this has been an informative video. It's very hard to explain what's going in my mind through a camera, but hopefully you've taken something from this. Do it without fear. We know in the future that we are going to end up in the space exactly where we want to be. And so we have no fear getting there. And we can only imagine what's outside of the construct in that limitless space where there is no control, there is no dungeon programming. Let's use our future and the perceptions of our future that we want to shape how we perceive our reality tunnel to be here right now. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll see you next time.